we're going to talk about the brain a little bit. I'm going to keep this fairly simple. So how I'm describing it to you today, although it is correct, it's a lot more complicated than this in reality. It's not sort of one separate system, if you like, dealing with one separate thing. They do intertwine and overlap, but these are the sort of predominant areas for each section that I'm going to talk about so that it makes a little bit of sense to you guys. So the main parts of the brain I've popped on there are the occipital lobe, the brainstem, parietal lobe, frontal lobe, the limbic system, and the temporal lobe. So we don't need to worry too much about the names. What I want you to worry about is the bit I've written underneath, the computer. Now, what I mean by this is the memory store. This is where anything that's happened to you is sort of stored up, all the past events, if you like. The limbic system, this is primitive. So what I needed to understand by this is sort of the oldest part of your brain. It's present in a lot of animals, and it's there to keep you alive, basically. It's emotional. It can seem irrational at times. You may have seen this described in some sort of psychology talks, if you've been to them before, as the chimp. And the reason people call it the chimp is to sort of describe how it behaves, in that it behaves like a chimp in the jungle. It doesn't behave relative to our current sort of evolved environment where we have jobs and we have responsibilities and we have laws and expectations on ourselves and goals. This just literally imagines, you're a chimp in the jungle and it wants to keep you alive. That's its main thing. And just bear in mind other things that keep you alive and help. The other thing it wants to do is pass on your DNA. So these are things like it wants you to fit in with the group. It wants you to feel not to feel at the bottom of the pack. It wants you to feel secure in your environment. Anything that would help you in a chimp way to succeed is what it's concerned with. Now the frontal lobe, this is the bit that we like. This is the human part. This is you. This is your personality, and this is sort of the goal setter, if you like. So this is the part of us that says, I'd like to do this, and I'd like to behave like this. Anything that you sort of say that if you thought about it, you agree with, this is the frontal lobe deciding that. If you say something and then you think, I can't believe I just said that, I don't agree with that, actually. I don't know why my brain's even saying that. And some people actually experience this as a sort of self-talk, like a negative self-talk that they can hear. Other people, it's just literally a thought that comes and goes. It doesn't sound like a voice or anything. I remember when I first realised that some people don't have an inner voice. That was quite a shock to me, because I'm just used to this sort of inner voice that can say one thing or another. Other people, it is just a thought that comes and goes. But if it's something that if you pause and think about, you think, why am I even thinking that? That's because it's not you. It is your chimp that's talking. Now, what I need to sort of explain here is that any one part of these brain systems could run you, but they don't. They all compete to try and take charge, if you like. It's important to note that although I've said, the chimp is sort of emotional and irrational at times, it's not good or bad. It just is what it is. And what I needed to take from today is that we're not responsible for the limbic system. We're not responsible for the chimp, but we do need to manage it. And that's what I'm sort of going to teach you today. So all these what if thoughts, which I'll go into a bit more detail later, are coming from this limbic system, and it wants to keep you alive, basically. If people get damage to this area, the frontal lobe, the human part, the personality, you get a big personality change, and they become much more aggressive. They become much more, quick to fire. They become much more concerned with themselves. And this is because the human part of their brain is gone, and they're literally acting in chimp mode. Okay. The other time you can sort of see this is in people quite often is if we're tired, stressed, or hungry. So if any part of our sort of basic human needs is stressed in any way, then the chimp can start to take over. It's sort of that advert actually that is based on this model, that sort of get your Snickers, you're not yourself when you're hungry, is actually based around this system.